His Darling Katie, written by MaryAnne Kettering, story told by Kim Lamb. She felt the first pain of birth. Her time was now very near. For months she had been waiting, without any thoughts of fear. The sun was now completely down, disappearing an hour or so ago. The mare grazed in her pasture, and her every movement was careful and slow. A veil of mist lay like a blanket over the pond, and summer's night air was hot and still. The mare raised her head and listened to the song of a night bird's peaceful trill. She turned her head at the back door slam while munching on summer's hay, and when she saw who it was, she let forth a welcoming neigh. The man who was her person was coming to her field again. He always touched her face and talked. They were the best of friends. While walking toward to greet him, another pain gripped her sides. The burdened mare stopped to rest, groaned heavily, and released a sigh. He now stood there beside her, stroking her face and head, telling her she was the reason that brought him out of his bed. My little darling Katie, you were ever so graceful a year ago. You'll be looking rather proud soon, with your little one behind you in tow. The mare flicked her ears and listened. How she loved the sound of his voice as he told her of her baby who'd come and that she'd have it without any choice. He patted her well-shaped neck, and then he kissed her velvety nose. He said good night to his darling Katie, then back to the house he strode. She stood by the gate and watched him until he disappeared inside of the house. The barn dogs sat quietly beside her, while the cat went in search of a mouse. She made her way to the far end of the field, wanting now to be left alone, for the pains in her sides were close and sharp, and making her to heave and groan. She lay down on the cool green grass and watched fireflies blinking their way through the night, and patiently she bore the pain that gripped her sides like a blacksmith's vice. Oh, the pain! Was it ever constant and fierce? Instinct was urging the brave mare to her knees. She was curiously watched by the farm animals, and the full moon shone its light on the scene. She gathered her strength to her legs. Alas, all 4 feet were firm on the ground. From a distance, the other animals continued watching, peacefully gathered, without any sounds. The mare stood with her legs sprayed far apart. Head down, she heaved with all her might. 2 tiny new hooves invaded the world, casting an odd shadow on the ground in the pale moonlight. The mare was drenched with sweat, there being no ease nor comfort for her pain. Instinct was telling her to push harder would soon quench the fire and flame. So she hunched her back and pushed again. The pain was nearly more than she could bear. And a dainty nose and 2 ears appeared that had been sculpted by God with the utmost care. Closing her eyes, she pushed harder yet. She bore down with all the strength she had. She already knew and loved her full well, and she had never wanted anything so bad. A tiny new miracle was born, witnessed by the farm animals and the moon shining above, and Katie, the little brown mare, licked the wet from her foal with love. The sky was now a deep midnight blue. The morning was only moments away. Katie was urging her foal to stand, with soft snickers and pleading neighs. The foal had long, knobbly-kneed legs and the head of a seahorse so proud. The dew on the grass tickled his nose and made him to sneeze his first sound. Katie, unaware of his presence, tucked among the barnyard animals in the field, looked up at the laugh of the voice she loved, only to see her person where he kneeled. For a moment in time their eyes met. Then Katy turned back to her struggling foal. He was trying his hardest to stand, and she encouraged him to reach his goal. His forelegs were holding his top up. His rear end was still on the ground, and with a funny look of pure determination, he stood up with a scrabbling bound. The mare's knickers of hope and encouragement had helped her fall to stand. Right now he looked pathetically comical, but someday he'd be graceful and grand. The blood began to flow from his wound, and his first meal of warm milk he desired. Snorting, he let loose with a sneeze. Then he stomped on a dainty little hoof. He was saying to his mother, "Please, I'm hungry. Where's the food?" Katy stepped forward to show him where he could always find something to eat, and the foal pushed and nudged with his nose until at last he found a warm teat. The mare kept her head turned toward her foal. She had a look of content all in her eyes. Her baby had finally entered this world. She was delighted, but a bit surprised. The foal drank the milk his mother gave. He nipped and sucked until his belly was full, and the man kneeling among the farm animals was delighted too with his tiny new soul. It seemed like such a long time ago, the day he took his little brown mare to be bred, and the whole time right up to now were the thoughts that filled his head. He got up from where he sat. He walked to his little brown mare. She nuzzled him when he was close. She felt safe and secure with this man who had the voice that she loved most. The sun's rays broke the horizon and shone brightly down upon the scene to where the man and his little brown mare stood, with the tiny new nose lifted up in between. By MaryAnne, written July 1st, 1996, for my bestest friend in the whole wide world, with love and straight from the heart. The end.